Who I am and what I write, I can do it.
Welcome back to the last of the day one Blitz panels for the New Year's Indie Book Blitz. I've done a full circle. I finally got used to saying it. Now it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm just like, no, done. But we are here with a whole new panel of 5 authors to talk about dystopian, paranormal, and urban fantasy this evening. Very excited to have them on. We've got Huckleberry Rar back on, and C.K. Sorens. We've got Donna, and we have both Stevens on, Stephen Helt and Stephen J. Morris, who are new to the channel. So welcome, everybody. So glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hi.
Thank you to everybody watching live on Twitter and on YouTube. If you would like to leave questions or comments for the authors or about writing or about the genres at any time, feel free to drop them in the comments. I will pull them over just like I pulled those two just now, because the whole reason we do these live and not recorded is to be able to answer your questions. So ask away. All right, we're going to dive in. We're going to introduce ourselves a little bit and talk about the kind of books we write and whether they fit into that dystopian or the paranormal or the urban aspect. So Huckleberry, why don't you kick us off and we'll just go around the circle.
My name is Huckleberry Rar. I've been writing since 2019. I have a 7-book series. It is urban fantasy. The first one is this one, Wolf Healer. Though if you go on to Amazon, the cover will look different because I had an audiobook made, and when I had the audiobook made, I needed to get a different cover. I think the new cover is much better for the series, which means anyone who goes to my website and goes and gets this cover, it's being sold really cheaply. All 7 books are written. The first 6 are the main series, and the 7th is like a novella many years later because I'm bridging to one of the secondary characters, tertiary characters. And I'm going to write her series eventually. So Pebble, if you have read the books, she's going to get her own series. What else am I supposed to say?
That's
Anything
good.
else?
You
Good
hit
enough?
all the marks. We'll come back to you. We got plenty.
One other thing, I have a new series coming out that is a Phoenix Shifter. This is werewolves. And Katherine has agreed to put the link to the ARC sign up somewhere. And yes, I will get weregeese into a book. I promise you. I promise. Though there are shifter swans in the Wolf Healer series. So there are geese that attack and shifter swans in the Wolf Healer series.
My husband is terrified of big birds, so I may need these.
Oh, yes.
This is spiraling.
Weregeese. I love this.
All 3 years,
That is
Huckleberry
so
has
fun.
been on the blitzes. This is the 3rd year. And
There's a
the weregeese
goose.
spiral. Every year we hear more and more about the weregeese.
There is a goose on her shirt on book 3.
Oh!
3 has a goose because it's a thing in the book. Geese are a thing. Beware the cobra chickens. Yes.
See, urban fantasy, this is what we come up with. It's just the really fun stuff. I love this.
I told the dark panel about the weregeese, and they were like, so it's like we need a hydra that has multiple geese necks. And you're just like, this is what happens when you switch into different panels, right? Okay, this is urban.
Are you saying my name too? So everybody is now expecting me to write this? Like, do I have to put it up on my list? Does the priority
we're going to assign one of those dark fantasy authors can take on the weregoose hydra. That's for them. Okay. Luna, you can write the weregoose hydra. I think there was one in your work in progress. So Stephen Helt, so good to meet you and have you on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the books you're writing?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me. This is awesome. So I write, I market it as like epic fantasy with science fiction and dystopia, like kind of multi-genre. The first book in this series is Along the Perimeter. And I've got 4 books out now. It's sort of 3 main entries, and then I call it like book 3.5 because it's sort of like a supporting novella. All my books are on sale right now. If you want to pick them up, they'll be on sale till the end of the year, so it's still a few days left anyway. But yeah, that's essentially me.
Yeah, and I did put everybody's links in the description box too. So I did drop Huckleberries in the chat just now, but if you just scroll down, if you're on YouTube, you can get everybody's links there and follow them. Stephen J. Morris, we've got two Stevens on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your fantasy? Do you write the same kind as Stephen Eld?
So yeah, I do urban fantasy also. I also have a 4-book series. Let's see which way. This is the first book, Guardian of the Palace.
I love that cover.
Mine is about things sneaking into our world. It's got like elves and trolls and stuff that have come into our modern world. All 4 books are out. The first one's actually on Amazon Prime right now, so it's free on Kindle on Amazon Prime for a little while, till February, I think.
Wow.
And I'm starting a new series, but it's pure fantasy. So this one's going to be released in February, Mother of Trees. It's actually based on one of the characters in the first story, but it's a prequel that takes place back on the home world that they came from. So it's connected, but not really related to the same story. It's just a favorite character, like Huckleberry's topic. It was a favorite character from book 3 that got pulled into a whole new series.
Yes. Love that. And we got a question for you already. Are there portals in your series?
There are portals in my series, yes. It's a bit of a reverse portal that switches into a portal story.
Whoa, I love reverse portals. Yes.
Yeah.
I know who asked that question, and you just said the correct words for her.
No, it's my favorite kind of story.
Oh, well, very excited to hear more about all the portals. Donna, welcome back.
Hi.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your books for the people who didn't get to make your live read, because you've done a live read of some of your book on the channel before.
Yeah, I did do a live read on this book right here. This is the Whitmere Legacy series, and don't let the pink fool you. This is really an action adventure story.
It is. I
This
can
is
vouch
my
for this.
second one. Wait a minute. Here we go. My second. Can't make this camera work well. This one. This is going to be a 3-book series. It's the Whitmere Legacy. This is a story about a woman who comes into an inheritance that she doesn't know about. And it is her job to protect the world from evil. And this evil is something that she keeps learning about as she goes on. And mysteries are unlocked for her. She's supposed to be the only one taking care of this, but along the way, she finds out she's got some amazing friends who help her to protect the world. Part of this is she inherits this treasure of gemstones, which have some abilities that affect people in different ways. And she learns that with hers, they make her stronger and faster. With other people, they have other things like compassion. You know, some people become more compassionate, and there's some lessons along the way about strength and compassion that really, resonate. And it's full of mysteries, chills, twists and turns. There's history mixed in with it, ancient history. So it's put in exotic locations. So it's really fun. The urban fantasy part comes in where they have things like Draugen, which is mythological. They have other types of things coming into their lives. The first book starts out with paranormal, with some real paranormal stuff going on. And then as the series goes, it gets funnier, it gets lighter. I have a different way with zombies. So in the second book, I have a very, very unique zombie who people really love this zombie because he's, really unique. And I'm not going to ruin the story about this one because he's very different. Are there dragons? No, not in the Whitmere Legacy series.
Does anybody on this panel have dragons? Because we've gotten a lot of dragons.
Not in this series.
Carrie's got dragons.
I will have dragons.
I do have a different series. This is 2 different series. You've probably seen these. How does this camera work? This one, Enchanted Forest and Enchanted Flames, that came out. And this is for charity. One of the things that I like to do is I like to help where I can. environmental issues or humanitarian issues. I like to do something that I can do. And this is a fun way to do it because I'm an author and I love to write, and I will definitely write stories to help someone. And this is another series that I'm involved with. This is for literacy. This is a literacy charity book. So, and I write these with a bunch of other authors. These are my co-authors' books with me. And they are a great bunch of people with great big hearts, and you would enjoy their stories. And I'm continuing on writing in these series too. But those are my books.
Yeah, and Janine, I did see your question. I'll pull it up in just a second. I think that'd be a good one to kick us off after Carrie introduces herself. Carrie, welcome back. It's so good to have you on.
Thank you. I know. It's been a crazy year. I've been meant to come on a couple times, but we haven't been able to make it work. So I'm really glad. Like, yeah, I only had like a 3,000-mile move, and so lots of things.
It's been chaotic. It's been an adventure.
It has been. Anyway, I'm so glad to reconnect with you. It's been I missed you, so thank you for inviting me on.
So tell the people who don't know you, for those who don't know, because I see a lot of new faces. Carrie and I were both in the Realm of Darkness box set, which is the USA Today best-selling box set from October of last year, and it was a lot, and I may or may not have talked her into doing it. And yet we're still friends, so it says something. But yeah, so for those who don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about yours and whether that falls into dystopian, paranormal, or urban?
Okay, so I accidentally have 4 books. And one of the accidental ones is the Enchanted Wishes, which is from the Realm of Darkness that I did with Kat. This is Genies in Las Vegas. Issa was born actually a genie hunter, and then she ends up getting cursed by a wish to become a genie herself. And now she has to grant 18 wishes within 1 year in order to break this curse. But if she breaks this curse, then all of the genies that have been trapped are now free. So now she's like genie hunter, genie. Does she want freedom, or does she want to free the genies? And then she has her love interest, Jacoa, who basically he wants to fix everything and thinks magic can fix everything. So he has a few lessons to learn too. Yes, accidentally, because this was all Kat. This was all Kat right here. This was not in the plan.
Just a 16 to 18 month sidetrack. That's it.
That's all. And then as a palette cleanser, this has been my latest one. Visions of Misfortune is part short story, part memoir. I pulled a lot of my old work, including some of my stuff that won awards, and I've separated each story with a mini memoir about what I learned from it and how it's led me to where I am on my current author journey. So it's just a fun little project that I put together as a palette cleanser. But I like to say these are my babies. So I've got Chi-Marked and Afflicted. These are my true urban fantasy books. They take place in what would be a California mountainside town in the Redwoods. But there's been a malfunction in magic, and the veil has hardened into a dome over this and forced both witches and fae into the human world within this dome. So they're all stuck together, and they have to figure out how to live. Ember has been born with all 3 magics inside of her, and she is considered a pariah. She was not supposed to exist. And so everybody kind of like both watches her and pushes her aside. So she's trying to find purpose and validation in this world that hates her. And along the way, she learns that she actually has some surprising friends, like some people who understand, or at least try to understand, as her forbidden powers develop, and prove that actually they are solving a lot of issues that they couldn't solve without her powers. So that is my current. This will eventually be a 6-book series. I have brought my hardcovers because once my hardcovers are complete, they will say tattoo across the
Nice.
thing because I have tattoo magic and crystal magic all in these stories.
Nice.
Thank
We
you.
did get a question for you about what sparked the interest in genies.
Yes. I have always loved genies. But honestly, what sparked the idea for the story was Genie in a Bottle by Christina Aguilera. Years and years and years and years ago, I did write a different story, and I have a lot of nods in it to this, but this is a completely different story than I wrote back then when that song came out. So yeah, it was something I needed, something new for the box set, and I was like, you know what? Let's write this story that has been on my heart for such a long time, and so out popped this one.
Yeah. So Janine brought a great question for our panel, I think, which is, what do you think is the difference between urban and paranormal? And dystopian's also on this panel, but I think it's very clear. Dystopian is that darker aspect of the world, and it's leans very heavily into the government structure that people are living under and the circumstances. So how do you guys feel these two things are different, especially when it comes to your own books?
I've always heard that urban fantasy has to take place in a largely urban location. So you take a very urban setting, you add the paranormal in, you have your urban fantasy. Paranormal just includes the paranormal elements.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my very, very simplistic.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's tough because I've also heard, that book series with vampires where Snooki is the main character. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
I do not.
Okay, it's a show now. Anyway, that takes place in like really rural areas, and I have heard that called an urban fantasy. So for me, I don't know. My take, which I don't know, because I've heard this is wrong too. But when I was first learning the difference, it was that paranormal has more of a romance spin, and urban fantasy has more of a there can be a romance in it, but it's not. But I don't think that's true, at least not anymore either. So we're doing great at answering this question.
I think people use urban fantasy wrong, right? Because there's so many genres. Like if you've listened to your first interview where the author said that they didn't realize they were writing portal fantasy, even though they were, because there's so many subgenres these days where the urban needs the urban, but people call urban fantasy anything that takes place today when somebody has a cell phone, because they feel that means it's urban. But in reality, urban needs to have that urban setting. And even if you don't, people are like, well, there's a car. And so because we have a car and a cell phone, it really is urban fantasy. But in reality, there's probably a better subcategory for it. But nobody really argues it, because at the end of the day, is it a good book and do we want to read it? Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on, because it's not so much the subcategory as much as a good book.
Yeah.
Well, there are over 200 bisects, the categories to choose from. So it's like...
With my urban fantasy, I have a lot of different places that I go. And the main, when I open up with the Whitmere Legacy series, my main character is pulled from California, and she goes back to a lovely place in Tennessee with a large river. It's going to be the Mississippi River, but it's a made-up town on the Mississippi River. It's very Gothic. It's got a beautiful mausoleum, and it does have vampires, but they're really in the background. It's kind of like coyotes in Bel Air, They're just things that are in the background. They can be a little bit dangerous, but the townsfolk, they deal with it. So it's a rural area, but I also have them doing city things too. So that's the urban fantasy part of it. The paranormal for me in the Whitmere Legacy series is haunting. There is a haunting to the mansion that she is in, and it's a childhood haunting, and it only haunts her, so this is something nobody else has a problem with, but she does. but there's,
Mhm.
you know, other things going on with that. So that's the paranormal part of what I do. And then the urban fantasy is, of course, the locations I put them in, which are maybe Gothic, maybe California, maybe Egypt. But then they've got these other things that come in that are, you know, zombies, things that are just from mythology, that sort of thing that makes, you know, that urban fantasy kind of paranormal thing going on. You just got a lot of things that, you know, normal people don't deal with this, you know, and that's what makes it so great for us to write this. This is not normal, you know, but they're going along, living their lives like, oh, well, we're just dealing with this zombie running around, you know, and he's bringing us some, you know, vegan dishes that, you know, and he's a really great cook and all, but, you know, it's just
Yeah.
like, this is not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How about you, Stephen? Stephen Held, what do you feel for yours?
I might catch flack for this, but when I think urban fantasy, I think of like Twilight.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, I feel like that's like probably one of the, you know, standouts. But I don't really read a lot of urban fantasy, so I'm probably not the best to have an opinion about this. Then when I think of paranormal, it's more of like, yeah, like otherworldly, you know, not, you know, things that we see day to day, that sort of thing. But I think, yeah, urban fantasy, when I think about it, the first thing that comes to mind is sort of like a modern-ish setting, you know, maybe 10, 15 years ago until today. And then there's just something unusual happening. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. But like I said, I don't don't really read much urban fantasy. So
Yeah. And then Stephen Morris, where do you fall for yours? Because you've got the portal element in yours too.
Yeah, so I guess I fall differently than most of the people here. I would make urban fantasy anything in our modern world, whether it's literally urban or not, that has to do with something magical characters like fae or vampires or werewolves. But for me, paranormal has always been more haunting and ghost kind of stuff, and that's it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where the line is drawn because vampires are undead, ghosts are dead,
Right.
undead. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think this is hard because it changes, and that's really, it's really where the line is. So for a day job, I'm an editor and a pitch coach, and one of the things I have to do every year in January is go to the Publishers Weekly Marketplace and analyze what books have been signed recently by which publishers, what genres they were, and what the descriptions were, so that when I'm coaching people who want to go traditional, or helping self-published authors decide where they're going to publish, that I can see what is trending today. Because what used to be paranormal, like Carrie said, was aligned a lot more with romance. Today, paranormal could encompass any of those ghosts, specters, shifters, or weregeese, or whatever, things that don't exist in the world. And what may be signed last year for urban could be, the big city or the small city, but a city-based feel, including superhero stuff, was being signed as urban, the superhero fantasy, where they were just normal people going out doing superhero stuff, but it was taking place in New York or wherever. And so it's really hard to say this is what it is cold cut, because as the readers shift what they think it means, the industry adapts to that, or at least that's what I've observed, not as a writer. I don't write urban or paranormal. So I think I've one tiny dalliance into that with Splitting Dusk, which is a novella I did a long, long time ago. But most of my books are epic in setting, third world scenario. But yeah, that was a great question, Janine. A lot of good comments and stuff to think about. So the long story short is, if you're a writer trying to get into it, finish your book, get all done, go to Amazon, search for urban fantasy books, and see if any of the other books look like they contain themes like yours before you put yours out as an urban fantasy. Because the point of these categories, as we said in the dark fantasy panel earlier today, W.D. Kilpack said to remember that the categories is ultimately just to put it in front of the readers who want your book, right? It's not as much the label as it is to get it in front of the people who want to see it, wherever those people are. But shifting on over, talking about writing and publishing. Did I freeze?
You
No,
froze
you
for
kind
a little
of
bit of
blitzed a
delay.
little, but you're good.
You're fine.
You're muted now.
Oops.
There you go.
Oh.
Okay. Are we all
No.
good now? Hopefully.
Yes. I
Okay.
think.
I was like, man, at least one panel's got to go glitchy today.
Hmm.
Aw.
I think
Can you
we've
guys
got
actually
your
hear
sound,
me?
but it's out of sync with your
Yeah,
video.
we can hear you. I think there might be like a video delay, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, then while I'm fixing the video glitch, I'm going to ask a question. You guys can work on going around answering it. But what brought you the indie route for your books? We've been talking a lot about indie and what that means to us as a community. So what has been the biggest factor that indie has brought to your publishing journey? Was it the community? Was it something about the publishing process?
For me, I think like most, going indie means you have all the control, and you don't have to worry about writing a book and then waiting to query or waiting for an agent to pick it up, and then even if you do hit all those marks, then you have to wait for a publisher to sort of release it on their schedule, because how many books are they going to release in a year, sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's just that control and deciding like, okay, I want this editor, I want this cover artist, I want to format it this way, those sort of things. Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to for me anyway.
I can just say ditto.
24 years ago, I wanted to publish a book, and there was this man in publishing whose son was my kid's friend. And so we were talking about it, and it just came to the point where, it's just not what I wanted to do. So I just laid the book aside for that long. And then I ended up writing, and it was a children's book. And then later on, I ended up doing indie publishing because, I didn't want to do traditional. I had, that's a very long story, and I don't want to get in it. At some point I will, but, I just decided indie is, there's a lot more control that you have yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole
sorry.
story. You know my entire story.
You get to pick one thing, Huckleberry. One thing.
I know, it'll be fun. So I tried traditional, and some very nice fairy in the interwebs named Katherine helped me to try to get a traditional publishing, and it didn't work. And then that very same wonderful person helped me figure out how to do all of the indie stuff. And it worked very much better. And between her and one other person, I had three people who helped me. One of the other people is on the chat right now. The three of them, I had three people who supported me quite a bit. But amongst the three of them, they supported me and really said, you can do this. And here I am, many books later. Thank you.
Yes. Connecting with all those readers we couldn't find in trad.
No.
That's true. Hey, so Carrie,
Yes.
what's one aspect that's been the biggest? I know you're really involved with Quill and Cup and just the indie community in general.
I did try trad like a long time ago, before I had kids, and it never worked out, like for various reasons. But then I got in contact with a published author and was just like laid my story out for him, and he said, that sucks. You got the short end of a lot of sticks, but I'm going to tell you something. There's no guarantee if all the sticks had laid up that you would be published today. And so it's like, okay, well, tough love. I can work with that. Well, then I had kids and pushed everything aside. But then like the indie world blew up in that 10-year period. So when I did come back to writing, when I had time for it, when my priority shifted, so I gave myself time for it. I was just like, I just started doing my research. I started, binging YouTube videos of self-published authors. I started like being that person in the back of the room on all these authors' Instagrams. I started joining ARC teams. And I just fell in love with the entire indie process. And so when it was time I actually pulled my query for Trimarked, and then decided to publish it on my own because, it is part control. I also have a chronic illness, and so it's nice to be able to like
There's an email link.
be able to change my deadlines when I need to, and it's fine. I mean, the only person bugging me right now is my grandma. So, but yeah, so we are just, I like the whole process. I love the community of it, how everybody comes together. And I know that there are like stories in which that doesn't happen, but my path has been full of generous, supportive people. And I just try to do the same, is to turn around and do that as well with my work with Quill and Cup and the authors that I meet on Instagram and all of that. I do. I really love the, yes. What is the deadline?
Ouch. Okay, Craig, I know I owe you.
Oh, he's not just talking about you. He owes me.
We indie authors put deadlines on each other, right? That's the thing. Oh, goodness. So, what's coming up in 2024 for everybody?
I have a question for you.
Oh,
If I promise to put Were Geese into my next book, will you beta read it?
I'll read anything you send anyway, Were Geese or not.
What about you, Luna? If I put Were Geese into the book, will you beta read it?
Linda will do it. I'll make her some tacos. This is what happens when you know somebody in real life on your chat. You're gonna be like, you're gonna get some tacos.
Yes. All right. Then that's it.
Oh, there we go.
Were Geese goes into the next book.
Nice.
It's YouTube official, people.
All the geese. Were Geese is going in.
All right. I have to mention that in my next book, there is a reference to Were Sheep. Since we're talking about Were Geese.
Yes.
The one that's coming out in February.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, I don't take on a whole lot of arcs or edits right now. I've been shifting sort of careers and stuff around a little bit. I'm an editor, professional editor, full time. That's my deal. So I make time, like Carrie was saying, you make time for the things that really matter. And I try to take on one or two reads for my indies every once in a while, usually every month, if I can swing it. But yeah, you got my message, and I've gotten messages from people who watch the panels, and I'm honored. And if I am too busy, I will let you know, because I don't want anybody sitting around waiting for an arc. But I know lots of other people who do read arcs that are in the indie community, and they love them. So yeah.
I'll tell you when I start writing it, so you have the heads up.
Yes. So 2024 is coming up. I can barely believe that, because we were just doing this panel, seems like just a couple months ago. Here we are. Stephen J. Morris, why don't you start us off? What's going on in 2024 for you book-wise? Are you doing any appearances, any releases?
So I've got a new book coming out in February. It's a prequel to the first series, but it's really not connected to it. It's just starring a character from the first series. I hope to have the second book out before the end of the year. It's already been sketched out, but I don't think it fits well right now. Like, the timing of the book isn't right. So I'm going to have to go back and redo it. And I don't know if it will come together during the year or not. My schedule gets pretty messed up because I have to earn money some way. But that's my plan. One book in February for sure, and then hopefully the next book in the same year, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's enough. I mean, when you're on the writing side, this is so much harder. I feel like as a reader, you get the book and you're just like, okay, I've got the book.
Why does it take so long? Where's the next one?
Yeah.
Then you're like, I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into that thing for the last 5 years. What do you mean you're done?
I got to tell you, my mother's always the first one to read my book, and she is a super fast reader. I'll hand something to her, and she'll have it done like that day, and she'll say, "Yeah, that was pretty good. You need to come on. You can't have read the whole book already."
Yeah. So Donna, what about you? What's coming up in 2024?
Well, in April, I'm going to have another one in this series. Here we go. It's going to be called Third Name's a Charm. And my story, I can't give away too much, but mine's going to be a sea story. It's going to be kind of sci-fi. So I'm very excited about doing that. And then in the summer, we're going to have another one of these out. It's going to be, well, the one after this one is going to be called Enchanted Skies, and it's going to come out this summer. And my story is about a thunderbird, or actually a lot of thunderbirds. So I'm very excited about that one too. Yeah, and I'm still working on the Whitmere Legacy series, but this is going to take longer because there's a lot of things I'm working on that, to tighten it up, because it's going to be the last book in there. So I just want to make sure that everything comes together. So you know how that does when you're doing the last book.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure all the questions are answered. So that's what I'm doing for 2024 bookish wise.
Yeah.
And there will be opportunities for both those books. So, if anybody wants to ARC for that, hit us up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, for people who joined later, because we've got a lot of people joined since the beginning, if you missed it, you can follow these authors at the links in the description box so that when they put out ARC requests, you can read their books. So, Carrie, what's going on with you in 2024?
Yes, so I have at least one anthology coming out next year. It's going to be a fun shared world anthology. And I think it's going to come out either late winter or springtime. And then I have a maybe anthology, charity anthology in the process, but I haven't heard back from the charity yet. So I don't have much to say about that one, but I really have my fingers crossed that it's going to happen. I'm excited about it. It's for the place where we adopted my dog, actually.
Oh.
And so then I am bound and determined to get back to my Trimarked world. I have 4 more books in this series to write. I got almost halfway through T3 and realized I have to remove a character. You know how that goes. So and I was just like, and this was like late November. So I decided to take the holiday and then just come back to it at the beginning of the year. So I will be cranking that out, cutting chapters and all that fun stuff. But I'm really excited about it. It's been a while, and these characters, I have one in particular. She's my necromancer, and she is screaming at me because she has some rage and she wants to let it out on the page. So, so yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm really excited about it. Big smile on my face, and yeah, we have. Well, not. I also do things for my writers group. So I run the book club there. I run shop talk there where we talk about all the different things. And so I also have like that kind of stuff on the side that I really enjoy doing. So yeah.
Yeah. We did get a question, and then we're going to do Steve Helt next. But when you first started out, how do you find your ARC/beta readers? This is a great question because I'll just say right off the bat, I did it the wrong way, and you shouldn't do it the way I did. I did mine by putting up Instagram posts about my book, but not asking for ARCs, okay, just about stuff in my book. And when people would comment on them a long time, when I got ready to do the ARCs about 6 months later, I messaged them personally. Hi, Carrie. Theory and some other people, about 40 people, and I was like, if I send you a print copy of my book, will you ARC read it for me? Just cold. No prior messaging. How you doing? Don't do that. That's not a good look. I mean, I did make some friends. Carrie's still here, but if I could go back and do it over again, that is not how I would have gone about it. How about you guys?
Did how you would go about
it? For my first one, I didn't have that many actually. So I chose I had a developmental editor who was helping me out. I had a very good writer friend, Nicole Piles, who we've been friends for a couple of years, and she agreed to beta read for me. And then I have a friend who's a voracious reader, and I asked her to beta read for me. And so I've had maybe too few, but they were the right ones. And so I was able to make a lot of really good changes based on their suggestions. And then after the first book came out with Afflicted, I got more people interested in becoming my ARC and beta readers. And then 18 Wishes came out, and even more people were interested in becoming my beta readers. So basically I started small and moved on up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like there's a difference between, beta readers and an ARC reader, at least in my mind. And maybe it's because I'm an editor, and that's part of what I do for a living is professional beta reads, where it's like, you don't want a full developmental edit. I'm not going to plot your beats for you, but I will leave you inline comments, and I'll give you a critique like this 3 to 5 pages long after I read it, telling you exactly why it works or doesn't work, versus, free beta readers, which are readers or other authors who give you feedback on it before it's ready to publish for free. And then the ARC readers who are like, the book should be done. This book is going out pretty much this way, and I'm sending it to you to basically read and hopefully give me an honest review.
And I didn't have that for Trimarked. I didn't have ARC readers for Trimarked at all. I was able to get ARC readers for Afflicted and 18 Wishes based on my work with Trimarked. So.
And my piece of advice is, don't try to get ARC readers later in the series, because I didn't with Wolf Healer, and I finally decided to try to get some in later books. And I think one of my worst reviews came from an ARC reader who said, I haven't read your series, but I'll ARC read. And they just said, I don't have time to read all your books, but I did a full synopsis. And I saw them asking questions about werewolf books later, and I tried to answer them. And then I got like a 1 or 2 star review, and I'm pretty sure it was them. And I'm just like, A, I would have given you the whole series. B, you could have just walked away. Like, there's so many choices you had. And
it's hard. Yeah.
The whole point was they'd never read a werewolf book, and they'd never let him like.
This comes back to Steve's comment down here. And this isn't just betas, but good ARC readers too. They're a treasure. If you find them and they care about your book and they love your book, keep them.
Yeah, I have like 4 ARC readers under my pen name. And like, that's all I have. I have a 4-person ARC team under my pen name, and like, I carry them. I'm going to start a new series, and I'm like, that's it.
Yeah. Donna, you got anything to chip in with yours?
I do have beta readers for the Whitmere Legacy, and then for the charity books, we all beta read each other's works. So we don't farm it out to anybody else. We help each other with that. With ARCs for the charity anthology, you have a form that you have to fill out. And one of the things that we asked is, have you read books by any of these authors? Just so that it's like, are you familiar with the types of writing that we do? Because, you don't want to get somebody in there who's not, familiar with the genre, and then just it's like they totally don't get it or don't like it at all. So that's all I can, add to that.
Yeah. Stephen Helt, you got anything before we jump into what you got?
Not really. I had just had my brother beta read a lot of my stuff. That was about it.
There is no shame in that. I feel like as long as your family is honest with you.
Yeah, that was the big thing.
Yeah. So what's going up in 2024 for you?
So yeah, I've got book 4 in the Amboy series will be coming out. I think maybe like, I don't know, fall-ish, hopefully, if everything goes to plan. I'll be reaching out to my editor soon, and that's usually like when I get her critique notes back, that's when I'm like, okay, I have a better idea of like where I'm at timeline-wise. But yeah, I'm shooting for probably like fall for book 4 to come out, and then plotting out the 5th book, which will be like the last in this sort of like chunk of the story. I've got like novellas and other like like offshooting sort of stories that I want to tell too in this world. But yeah, pretty much I'm going to be focusing mostly on getting book 4 out. Yeah.
Awesome. And Huckleberry, you have a lot of plans. You always do.
I do. I'm not going to. So I'm not pen name. So what I'm doing, I'm cleaning up a Phoenix series. I wrote 2 books, not this NaNoWriMo, but the one before. And so I'm almost done cleaning up book 1, and then I'll start cleaning up book 2. And I'm hoping to have the 3rd book, because it's going to be a trilogy, written. And then I will start the Pebble series, which is the offshoot of Wolf Healer, and that will have the Weregeese.
Mm-hmm.
And that series, yeah. And I'm also writing stuff under my pen name, but the semesters I'm not teaching 19 credits, so I'm going to have way more time to get stuff done. So I can write at the same time, unlike last semester.
Because you're a teacher, just so everybody's clear.
Oh, I teach math at university, and going from 19 credits to 13 is like a big load off. Huge. Huge.
Yes. And I don't know what my plans are going to be this year outside of a shared world project that somebody in the comments knows I owe part of. But outside of that, which is actually going to be possibly a throwback to a standalone book that everybody has been begging for more of, that I have not wanted to post more about since that book came out.
Promise?
Yeah. You'll be one of the first people to get it, Carrie. But yeah, outside of that, I'm just trying to finish up some other series that I've started in the works this year. I've got Lord's Gambit series is the one that I lost book 3 on because the file was corrupted, and I learned the very painful lesson this year of having to rewrite an entire book because my backups weren't sufficient. So that one I definitely want to get out. So other than that, just sort of going with however the year takes me, I guess. The fans will go crazy. All right.
We should co-write a book together.
I don't
Our very
know,
different styles.
Bad. If next year is anything like this year, I'm being very cautious of how I commit this time of year. But yeah, but thank you all so much for joining and talking about books and fantasy and what you got going on. This was really great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us anytime.
Yes, and definitely enjoyed having 2 Stevens on the panel at the same time.
Next year, you have to
It
have
made
2
tagging in
Huckleberries.
Instagram easier.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to get a 3rd one next year, I guess. Like
We need
every
a
year.
panel of
The
all
panel of
Stevens.
Stevens.
Yeah.
I had a meeting once where there was 4 Nicks and me. I'm always like the one person out.
Wanted 1 Huckleberry to have a 2 Huckleberry panel. But yes, thank you all so much again, and thank you for everybody who has watched us this whole time. We will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 with a middle grade and young adult fantasy panel, and we'll be going through 6 panels tomorrow. We've got a lot of panels left over the next 3 days. We've got panels tomorrow, we've got panels Sunday, we've got panels on Monday. So subscribe to catch all the new authors, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.